The following program is a production of Ho'ike Kauaʻi Community Media.
Aloha, folks. Max here. If you watched last month's episode, you will have seen the first part of my interview with Kalani Vierra from Ocean Safety Bureau. I split it into two parts, so stay tuned. This is going to be the second part. I've since gotten a haircut after that interview was recorded, but don't worry. You will see the second half of the interview with my luscious pink mane. So here we go. Roll the titles.
The following program is a production of Ho'ike Kauaʻi Community Media. Island Alert was made possible in part by the Kauaʻi Island Utility Cooperative.
So how would you respond to emergencies at, I know, like you mentioned, we have a lot of remote or unguarded beaches. Walk me through a scenario where there's an emergency at one of those places. First of all, how would you even know it was going on?
Yeah, so there's two ways. So first of all is usually somebody comes running around the corner and yelling for help. Two is a lot of the people who get in trouble or see somebody get in trouble, they call it the emergency 911. And the dispatcher usually sends out a call over our radio with the fire. And then the third is this new app to the community, and people can look into this. It's Pulse Point. Pulse Point is this community app for people that wants to help in some way, a first responder, off-duty first responder, or a CPR certified person that can be alerted on your phone to let you know there's a CPR going on or a swimmer in distress or what have you. But usually we get notified by the dispatcher, the 911 call, it comes over the radio. We get dispatched, depending on where the call is. Usually the closest tower would be dispatched either by truck, ATV, or literally by running. We also have our rescue watercraft. We have our mobile patrol units that will be dispatched also, that they have a rescue watercraft or a jet ski already hooked up to their mobile vehicle, and they'll be responding either by truck or literally launching the craft either by the closest sand beach or by ramp, responding by water, or by ATV. So we have all-terrain vehicles at most of our towers that you can get access to short, narrow pathways that you can get around the corner. So there's a variety of ways that we can respond. But I think our rescue watercraft is probably the most useful and versatile tool that we have in our operation. And they do a lot of response to remote areas that the lifeguards cannot get to. I mean, really dangerous areas, and sometimes, like during our winter times, like Queen's Bath, for example, a lot of people disregard the closing of the gate and they still go around and they get in trouble. And then our guys have to put their lives on the line and go into these really dangerous areas to do some heavy, risky rescues. So that's kind of how we get informed, is by using a dispatcher by 911.
All right. What are some of the most challenging rescues that you or your team has faced, and how did you handle them?
So the most challenging, I would say, is probably on our North Shore, especially when we have the big surf and all this jagged, remote coastline. Queen's Bath is one of them. Kauaʻi is another. Down the Nepali coast and all these different caves that people somewhat get in trouble either by kayaking or maybe an overturned boat. And it's usually, again, by rescue watercraft that we do respond. Me personally, I had a couple of really hairy rescues in the two-door cave down in Nepali. We had some overturned kayakers in the cave. They was trapped all the way in the back with pretty good surf coming in, and there's no way they could get out on their own. So we literally had to swim in and swim them out one at a time.
Yeah.
And that's some of the challenges that we face is all these jagged, heavy coastline areas that it's hard to get into and hard to get out. So we do get air support from our fire department helicopter. We also get support from the firefighters. They have a few boats located at different stations. And we also get support from the Coast Guard and different agencies like DLNR that really help out on some of the long-term rescues or multiple rescues that we work together with different agencies.
All right. And that segues very nicely into my next question. How does OSB work with other first responders, like at the local level, like EMS, KPD, or the rest of the wider fire department during ocean-related emergencies?
Yeah, so going back to the 911 call, so if a dispatcher has an ocean-related call, the dispatcher would literally dispatch all the units, whether it be fire, EMS, ocean safety. If we need more agencies to get involved, the DOCARE or the DLNR officers would be involved, Coast Guard, and what have you. So we had many emergencies that we responded to side by side with these different agencies. But we, being under the fire department, we really work closely with the firefighters and their rescue team and their helicopter. And then the Coast Guard, we just had a bunch of training we did with them in the last month. We're preparing for this big SARX exercise that we do yearly. That's going to be in the summertime that we slowly getting ready for. And the SARX exercise is this mock-up rescue that all these agencies can get involved with. Like we can simulate a plane crash, for example, and then all these different agencies will get involved and work together, because I think that's great, getting more training with different agencies. This prepares everybody better to respond in whatever emergencies.
Yeah, that's great that you guys participate in SARXs with them and stuff like that, because it can, sometimes it can introduce a different layer of difficulty working with another agency that has different procedures.
Exactly.
And such. And another thing about those SARXs is they can be pretty fun too, because you get to deploy all these techniques that you're learning without any real danger. So I always like doing exercises like that. All right, so you guys are part of the fire department. How often do you respond to calls that might not involve the ocean, like providing basic life-saving service at a fire or at a car crash? And then vice versa, how often do you have firefighters, responding to ocean-related emergencies alongside lifeguards?
Yeah, that's a good question, because we do have lifeguard towers close to the main highway for Kauaʻi Beach, for example.
Yep.
I worked there a few times with major car accidents right behind of our tower, biking accidents from the bike path. There's also brush fires that pops up close to our towers that we actually get involved with. Our roving patrol units probably see a lot of those out-of-water emergencies like car crashes. They also responded to numerous CPR medical emergencies outside of the water, like at the shopping mall. They responded because we have medical equipment like our AED and oxygen units. Kauaʻi Beach, we respond to injured hikers on the trail behind our tower. So we have good medical training. We have a few of our staff are EMT trained. Hopefully in the near future, we want to see, of all our new recruits come in, we want to see them to get somewhat of a higher level of medical training, just to serve our community better, especially in those remote towers like Kauaʻi and Haiena. We also responded to assaults at the beach, people assaulting each other. Obviously, we don't get involved with the people who's being assaulted. We definitely call the police, but we try to keep the people around them out of the way and, try to have some kind of barricade or what have you. So we do a lot of emergencies outside of the water. And that's part of our medical service or our first responder. And then the firefighters, they do respond a lot of the calls in our ocean waters also. The firefighters are somewhat trained in water rescue. Most of each station has somewhat of a swimmer or a water person that works at each station. Each station that is close, like the Hanalei station, Kauaʻi, and the Koloa stations, where it usually has most of the water calls, usually you see a stronger water team working at those specific fire stations. So we get really good support from the firefighters when we do have water calls.
Awesome. Yeah, I notice whenever you see, we have the fire station just down the road from our TV station here. And so all the time you'll see a fire engine will go by, and then right behind it is a big pickup truck, and they've got a surfboard on the back.
Yeah, that's the rescue team.
Yeah. So, but I always wonder how often is that surfboard actually getting splashed into the water?
Yeah, so usually those rescue team, they deploy the helicopter a lot. So as soon as there's a call that the helicopter is deployed, the rescue team will go straight to the hangar at the airport, and they'll be flying out with the helicopter. Usually the closer stations that are deployed quicker, those stations probably use their boards quicker than the station here because
we're so close to the airport here.
Yeah, and they're so far away to Poipu or Hanalei. So there'll be a good survey for C and ask them how often they use their board.
Interesting. Yeah. With so many, this is a question I ask almost everybody that comes on the show because it is something that's sort of unique to Hawaii and especially Kauaʻi, where, a third of our population any given day is people that don't live here. With so many visitors to Kauaʻi, it must be challenging to ensure that they understand the unique risks of our oceans. So what kinds of things do you and your team do to educate visitors that might not see presentations like this on TV, or they might not get the presentations you guys give in schools and stuff like that?
So there's a couple of ways. One is the airport video. So our airport is very unique. We have a small airport. There's only 2 baggage claim areas. So we try to, we have videos on both sides of the airport at both baggage claim areas that shows the same video of educating people of our hidden dangers. Even the mayor is on there. Sometimes when I travel, I stand right under the video to see if anybody would recognize me on the video and see who's watching the video. Not everybody watches the video, but some people do. That's one way. We try to put some of the same video in some of the resorts in-house TV, that they're watching the video when they're flicking through the channels, they might see the same video. We have these beach safety guides that we pass out at all the concierge desks with a visitor industry, works with people and activities. And the beach safety guide is a good guide that kind of gives you a map of the island, shows you where all the lifeguard towers is, kind of educates you of where the hidden dangers are and what to do if you get caught in a rip current. And then we also started this new program, in fact, 2 programs. It's called SAFE. SAFE is Safety Aquatic Family Education. And then we have another program called SAVE, Safety Aquatic Visitor Education. And we go into the concierge and hotel resorts and we do 20 minutes, 30 minutes presentation. And we talk about all these different dangers of our island and what to be aware and what to look out for. But I think we can do a lot more. I think we need a little bit more support from the visitor industry that would help us, bring this presentation to all the different resorts. Also, we try to break this this problem years ago. I think having a video on the airlines would probably be the best place to show a short educational video while they're sitting on their plane and watch this video before we even come off the plane.
Captive audience,
We just had a problem getting through all these different airline agencies, so that's why we did the baggage claim area.
Yeah.
That's the only place we could do it with no red tape. But still, if we can find that person or the connection that we can put this on the airlines, I think we'll probably save a lot more lives.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. So why don't we get into some more practical questions for that people watching can actually get some knowledge they can use. What should people know about rip currents, and how can they escape if they get caught in one?
So rip currents is kind of hard if you don't have the eye to recognize the rip current. It could be hard. So at our beaches, first of all, if you go to our beaches and you see a sign posted, rip current. So a lot of people, if we don't have a sign posted, the rip currents are located where the waves are not breaking. That's kind of the deeper water, whether if it's a reef bottom or a sandy bottom. And that's what attracts the people, because they don't see waves, so they want to go swimming in that very location.
Yeah.
And where the waves are breaking, that usually is what generates the energy that feeds into the rip current. And if you don't have that eye to recognize what the rip current looks like, and you jump in, you're going to get sucked out pretty quick. Usually I mention to people who doesn't recognize the rip current is, look at the ripples on the top of the water. You're gonna see that it's kind of flowing like a river. For example, you're gonna see the ripples on the top, or you can see the sand. You're gonna see a sand flowing out. That's kind of a really good indication that where the rip current is. You have a fixed rip current, like where a channel in the reef is, that's there all the time. And then you have these flash rips in the sandbar that comes and goes depending on the surge of the waves. So by recognizing this stuff, you can really keep yourself out of trouble and keep your family out of trouble. A lot of the rescues that we do, especially in the Hanalei Bay area, is all pertaining to rip currents, because people don't understand where you're going to jump in, you don't see any waves, they figure that's the safest place to go swimming, but actually that's where the rip current is. So by recognizing what a rip current looks like and how it acts, there's a lot of information on YouTube and on the internet now that you can educate yourself about rip currents. But here we have a lot of reefs and sand bottoms. We have a lot of channels in the reefs. Usually it's deeper water, and you're going to notice when, depending on the location, if there's waves, the bigger the waves, the stronger the current's going to be. And the sandbars can change in minutes from side to side, but usually the sandy color that's sucking out from shore, that's a good indication where that rip current is located.
Yeah, you're going to go the same way that sand is going to go if you go to that part of the water.
Yeah, and that's why we try to tell people to take at least 20 minutes to observe the water, because the rips come and go. If you're not familiar, throw a piece of driftwood in there and you see what happens to the piece of driftwood. If the driftwood is getting sucked out, that's a really good indication that that's a rip current area.
Yeah, that's good advice. And so if someone does... maybe they're swimming and they get caught in one, or they don't take the advice you just gave them. Somebody finds themselves in a rip current. What should they do to get out of it?
Yeah, so good question. So first of all, do not panic. I know it's hard not to panic when you're in that deadly situation, but do not panic and go with the flow, because the rip current eventually is going to release you, and then you can slowly make your way in over the shallow or through the wave area. Never try to swim against the rip current. You're just going to get yourself more exhausted, and that's how people, I'm sorry to say it, they drown because they don't want to get into the surf, they don't want to get to the shallow, they want to get to the beach where they started, but usually that's probably the worst place to to go against. So go with it, let it release you, come in over the shallow sandbar or the shallow reef. Or wave your hands and just ride it out, and hopefully somebody will see you, and maybe the lifeguards or somebody can come and do a rescue. Just relax.
Yeah. All right. Good advice. Which beaches on Kauaʻi would you say, in your professional opinion, are the most dangerous? And what is it that makes those beaches risky?
Well, again, we have two seasons. We have the winter season and we have the summer season. During our winter season, which usually starts from October to March, maybe April, that's when we have the biggest surf of the year on our north and west shores. Because of the storms that is generated close to us up in Alaska, and it generates giant swells that could be a coconut tree high.
Oh, yeah. Huge
and
ones.
Those swells that come and hit our north shores can generate some really, really hazardous ocean conditions, not only for lifeguards, but for everybody. I think that's Hanakapiai, Luma High, Queen's Bath. That's all beaches that I would highly suggest staying away from during our winter time. Go to the lifeguarding beaches, which is Hanalei Bay. There is some hazards there, but you talk to the lifeguards and they'll send you probably on the safest place in that area. Or maybe it's just you can't go in the water today because it's too dangerous. Maybe on the other side of the island is more safer. And during our summertime, during, April, May, June, July, August, that's when our North Shore goes to sleep and goes flat, beautiful ocean, swimming. That's the time you should be enjoying the water up at the North Shore. And that's when we have surf on the South Shore. So the conditions change. We have somewhat pretty good sized surf on the South Shore, and we have all jagged rocks on that side. Shipwrecks could be pretty dangerous on the south swell because of the dangerous pounding of the shore break. You can really get into injuries. Brandy Keys could be a pretty good dangerous beach because of the strong shore break. And the other beaches that Lauai Beach Resort in those areas have really strong currents because of the deep channel and all the jagged rocks. So shipwrecks, I would say, is probably one of the dangerous beaches on the South Shore. Polehale on the west side is a really dangerous beach, and it's at the very end of the road all the way out west. So this depending on the year, wintertime, big surf on the North Shore. Summertime, big surf on the South Shore. So it kind of opposite depending on the season.
So what are some, we talked about ocean safety education for visitors. What are some ocean safety programs or workshops for residents or even maybe keiki?
So I talked about our junior lifeguard program. Yeah. We have two age group categories. We have our keiki, which is ages 8 to 11, and we have our juniors, which is 12 to 17. So we have two age categories. We run those programs during the summertime. It's free. May 1st is usually our opening of registration. And we fill up so fast because it's so popular that we have to turn kids away because I don't have enough staff and manpower to manage. I mean, our plan is to hopefully grow it even bigger in the next few years. But that's kind of our more popular keiki and our youth program. We also have this program called a Beach Guardian. A Beach Guardian program is this inviting people from the public, whether you're a surfer, fisherman, or boogie boarder, what have you, and you might be a local at a certain beach, and we'll come to your beach and we'll provide all these different tools and techniques that in case something happens there, you can protect yourself, first of all, or you could actually perform a rescue if your skills is strong enough. So a Beach Guardian program is something that we do on occasion at different beaches, not only here on Kauai. We go to the outer islands too also. And even if you're not a good swimmer, you can perform or you can be part of a rescue by not even getting into the water. Calling 911, for example, keeping your eye on the person, wait for the responders to come, show them where the person is at. So all that little information could actually help save a life.
Yeah, and stuff like that can be so helpful.
And so that kind of stuff we work in. And like I said, the family education, we still kind of working on that program. Hopefully we can start getting that program moving forward. And that's more for the local residents, family, and that's more of a presentation talking about not only our ocean, but pools, bathtubs, toilets, 5-gallon buckets, and all those different areas that has water that a little toddler can get in.
Yeah.
So we try to educate not only from the ocean, but just in water safety in general. So that's kind of some of the programs we're working on. Like I talked about our internship. We work with other agencies from across not only the United States, but other countries coming over and sharing different techniques.
Yeah, that's all great stuff. So if people want to get involved with some of those youth programs like the junior lifeguard program or even the internship, how do they go about that? How do they get in contact with you?
Yes, so they can call our Fire Department Ocean Safety Bureau office, and we're looking for volunteers because the more volunteers we have, the more kids that we can get involved. And they can call our office at 241-4984, and we can exchange information and see how we can get them involved, financially or even labor-wise.
Sounds great. That's wonderful. All right. So what are some simple ocean safety tips that you would say everyone should follow regardless of their swimming ability?
Yeah, well, my main one is swim at a lifeguarded beach.
That's a good one.
Or check with the lifeguards before go any type of water activity. 2 is always use the buddy system. You know, if you're planning on snorkeling or surfing or whatever the case may be, using a buddy system is very good because in case something happens to you, somebody can watch out for you or at least call 911 and get some help. Look for any warning signs located in the area, especially at secluded beaches. You might see some signage that might indicate the hazards of that specific area. Even where the lifeguards work, there's going to be signs posted, rip current signs, for example. That's a good indication of maybe don't go in there, or maybe ask the lifeguards what the sign is for before getting in. Obviously, alcohol and drugs is not a good way to enjoy your day, especially if you plan on going into the water. I think a lot of accidents do happen because it's alcohol related.
Yep.
I think that will be my top tips, but the most important one is swim at a lifeguarded beach.
All right. Yeah, that's a good, if you only had one piece of advice you were going to listen to, that would be the one. All right. Great advice, Chief. Let's look to the future a little bit. Are there any new safety initiatives or new programs that you'd like to introduce in the near future or maybe even the far future?
Well, like I talked about, our junior lifeguard internship that we're going to be starting in 2 weeks. That's something that's very new, first of its kind. And this will be a pilot program. And, the whole objective and goal is to, give these kids a path of becoming a lifeguard one day or becoming a mentor for the next generation. And by providing this information to our kids, like I said earlier, the stats of our kids 1 to 15, the leading cause is drowning. By giving these kids the tools to educate themselves and to share their knowledge to the next generation. Obviously, we want to keep our lifeguard internship training going. We just had our first annual a couple weeks ago. It was a great success. The mayor was involved with the presentation, our certificates, and we want to try to do that annually. Already talking about our next year. We're already planning on that. And then our junior lifeguard internship, we started first ever here on Kauaʻi. Kauaʻi is a leader. We might be the smallest county, but we lead in a lot of these initiatives, and a lot of the outer islands are following what we're doing here.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. It sounds like, there's a lot of things that...
And the internship, we really want to move to the outer islands. So these kids that we're training in 2 weeks, we're hoping that they could be our lead Kauaʻi kids and take them with us to the outer islands to help us promote this internship. And basically what it's all for is just to give the kids tools and a path of something positive, and being like myself, being around the water keeps me alive, gives me the passion, and, giving back to the next generation. And the bottom line is, it's a good recruitment process of recruiting kids that enjoy being around the water like I am, and making it a career.
All right. That's wonderful. So, all right, we're getting close to the end of our talk, but what is the one message that you want to leave with our viewers when it comes to staying safe in Kauaʻi on the water?
Yeah, so, our Hawaiian Lifeguard Association, I need to thank them. They're a nonprofit organization that supports all the life-saving efforts around the state. The Kauaʻi Lifeguard Association, that supports a lot of the efforts here on Kauaʻi. And our motto is, together for life, connected by water. And it's kind of the motto that we try to use, working together to save lives, and we're all connected by water in some way. Without water, we all cannot survive. Be smart. You educate yourself. Be safe by being smart. Try to find out, plan ahead. Look for information. There's a lot of information you can find about specific areas that you're going to visit, and educate yourself before you visit that area. And, lastly, the best advice is, when in doubt, don't go out.
Yeah. Yeah, that is good. It's better to live to enjoy the water tomorrow.
Exactly.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, Chief, and a lot of really good information and insightful advice there. Well, that's our show. Chief, thank you so much for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And, I want to thank the Hawaiian Lifeguard Association and the Kauaʻi Lifeguard Association for all the support. And visit our Safe Beach Day website and get some good information of our beaches here on the island.
Yeah, and links to any of the websites we talked about today, they'll be on the screen if you're watching this as a video, and if you're listening as a podcast, you can find those links in the show notes. So be sure to check those out. And tune in next time when we get to know another one of Kauaʻi's professional heroes. Until then, stay safe out there. Aloha. Aloha, folks. Max here. If you watch I guarantee you have not watched next month's episode yet.
Ho'ike Kauaʻi Community Media's president and CEO is Allegra Gaines. Administrative assistant, Leiko Someda. Production and education services by Roger Olson. Production and IT services by Max Richardson. News and events producer, Trisha Allen. County producer and social media manager, Olivia Franco.